All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. This is the Wednesday, December 28th, 2016 edition of the broadcast, and we are here with you in the final days of 2016. So thank you very much for being here with us for another edition of the show. We've got a lot of various topics and things I'd like to discuss with you here on the broadcast today that'll run the gamut of things and fly all over the place in a bunch of various different topics and whatnot. That's just the way I roll. It's just the way we do it here. We go across the map and across the board and paint with a wide brush and cover a variety of topics. So buckle in and thanks for being with us. TheGlobalReality.com is my website. That's TheGlobalReality.com. You'll find everything there for your viewing pleasure for our work. You can find all the films and everything. You hit our download shop and get yourself some downloads. If you haven't seen my newest film, The Spellcasters, it really is the most important work I've ever done, so it is vital to get that information out and in. I don't mind telling you, I've started doing the preliminary work and the mapping out on Volume 2 and starting to get it all mapped out and ready to go before I start the writing and all that. And boy, I I didn't think I was going to be able to outdo Volume 1 because it really became much more of a monumental undertaking than I expected. I really thought it was going to be a film I was going to be doing a month or two and it'd be out. It really ended up taking a year and a half because it just ended up being much bigger than I ever counted on or expected. And Volume 2 is shaping up to smash that by leaps and bounds. I mean, it's unbelievable. The data and the info and the dots I've connected and what we're going to show that's literally never been shown or talked about by anyone ever before. It's really going to be chock full of information. Of course, there's going to be some stuff that's already out there, but those tidbits all connect in with the stuff that hasn't been put out there yet. So, and we've got a lot of that, a lot of new information, stuff that will be new revelations, that will become a part of the, research pantheon in the future and just be accepted fact, that's not out there now, but will be after this film is released and comes out. But we need your help to get it done. So again, please go and contribute. We're having the deal this week because it's our fundraising week also to get our operating costs paid for the month. Everybody that contributes $100 between now and noon on Sunday the 1st, either to the Spellcasters Volume 2 fundraiser or the December 2016 operating cost fundraiser, both of which you can find banners for at my website, theglobalreality.com. Everybody who contributes $100 between now and noon on Sunday will get the lifetime archive membership to the archives that we usually sell for $500 for a lifetime archive membership. It's usually $10 a month or $80 for a year. We sell the lifetime memberships for $500 that people buy, so we have sold them before people buy them, so they can have lifetime memberships. And as a special, because it's the end of the year and we got new people coming in, we want to give everybody an opportunity. Everybody that contributes $100 to either one of these fundraisers will get the lifetime archive membership and 4 free downloads of your choice from the download shop. So go and do that. If you have already, we had a couple people come in already and get that deal. So thank you. We need other people to join you guys so we can reach our goals here and what we need to do. Don't forget though, we had one person, Scotty, I think is his name. Scotty, if you're out there, Scotty, email me, globalrealityshow@gmail.com. If you make your contribution through one of those contribution banners for the fundraisers, it won't send me your email address. It keeps it hidden. But I have to have your email address in order to set you up with your lifetime archive membership and your 4 free downloads. So no problem. Just shoot me an email, globalrealityshow@gmail.com, and I'll get you set up with that. Let's get into our news and information that we have to discuss here with you on the show tonight. I forgot to mention on the previous broadcast on Monday, I had forgot to bring up or even mention because we had so much other stuff. And frankly, there's so many of these celebrity deaths these lately, really over the past year. And my work that culminated in the 2-part miniseries film Secret Messages, Part 1 and 2, which you can also get in our download shop right now in HD, compiled as one film for only $10. The ones we put on YouTube are not HD and not edited together, and it's just a better experience to see it as a complete film. But that was the work I did right after David Bowie passed away, and I got that thing out within like a week of him dying, and I had all this information and all this stuff, and I've seen this thing continue. And I think it started with that, and this has been a long, ongoing thing that's continuing, whether you want to call it a mass pop culture ritual or, something of that nature. I don't know. But it's been an ongoing thing. I've talked about it being an ongoing thing. A few weeks ago, I mentioned the connection between how I said at the beginning of the year we were going to, was seeing the obelisk. We were seeing so much iconography and so much indicators about the obelisk. And, of course, in that film, I show the Buzz Aldrin clip where he's talking about the obelisk going around the Phobos monolith, and then I said we're going to see that monolith come back sometime this year. The monolith shows up on Mercury. Right after it shows up on Mercury, here goes, what was his name? Not Buzz Aldrin. Buzz Aldrin was the one that was it Buzz Aldrin? Yeah, Buzz Aldrin was the one. Yeah. But he goes to Antarctica, and then that whole thing breaks out. And I didn't even have time to even mention this on any of those shows. The very next day, as I was saying, there was a connection. There was something to this, and I couldn't put my finger on it yet. We had these reports coming out of there being, supposedly, it could be fake. A lot of people are indicating it could have been fake, but there was supposedly a deleted tweet by Buzz Aldrin that said something about the discovery of something that he said was a threat there on that trip to Antarctica. So, whether that was real, whether that was fake, there's some indicators that could have been fake. But what you have to understand is even when something like this comes out and it's fake, it doesn't make it any less important to what we're trying to decode here, because it still shows, even if it is fake, that there is something going on, and they're using the disinfo to do it. A great example of that I mentioned in the Secret Messages film, and that was with stuff that came out exactly this time last year, where you had this fake video come out of this fake interview with Stanley Kubrick, and where he's talking about faking the moon landings and stuff. And I talked about how, of course, that's fake. But what it does is it puts it into the mind. If there's nothing to it, then why are they still going out of their way to plant disinfo stories to discredit that Stanley Kubrick moon connection? And that's exactly what it was. Because that video was fake, and it was obviously fake, and they plastered that thing all over the media. It was everywhere. People, conspiracy theorists, truthers, and whatnot, were running with it. And once it comes out as a fake, then what it does is it then associates the story of Kubrick working on the fake moon landing stuff being fake just because that video was. You see what I'm saying? That's a part of the conspiracy. Even though you have stuff like this that comes out as fake, it's still a part of the game plan, and it's still a part of something that they are either trying to convince us of or slowly roll out. That's the thing. You can't put your belief, and you can't, if you put your belief too far one way or the other, folks, they're going to get you. That's the thing with all this. It's very difficult to kind of put that into words and make people get that across to people, make people understand that. But putting yourself on one side or the other of an issue, instead of doing your absolute best to remain in the middle and objective and neutral about it, is very dangerous. You have to, it's hard to, believe me, sometimes, it gets the best of me sometimes too, and I end up getting pulled by my emotions and into, a steadfast side of things. It happens to the best of us. but I also do a very, very conscious effort to try to not do that in most situations. Or if I do, then go back and correct myself and not do that anymore. But that's exactly what they want. So, of course, there is a huge campaign going on now. I think that they're ramping up stuff for this Sage alien invasion thing. And then, of course, I didn't even get a chance to mention John Glenn right after I was talking about that stuff with Buzz Aldrin. Then John Glenn dies the very next day. So I had lots of people saying, well, this probably is something along the lines of what you're talking about. So on Monday's show, I didn't even get a chance to mention the death of George Michael. And the reason I was going to mention the death of George Michael was because this month of December, there's been also, I think, some sort of like blood moon, Christmas moon, blood moon, I don't know, some kind of moon. I was reading all these reports and astrological reports and everything all through the month that were saying that these, increased deaths, people were going to be going crazy. And then we had all these outbreaks at the malls on Monday, at the same time as this was happening. Right as George Michael died, the same day they report that. I mean, we had like 4 or 5 of them here just in the Dallas area, big brawls and outbreaks, but they happened simultaneously across malls all across America, simultaneously. The odds of that happening, folks. So, again, we see these things where they're starting to engineer these events to take place. They've for a very long time, have engineered events to take place on certain times and dates. But what I mean is now it's a different type of world because now they have technology, things from chemtrails to HAARP to, ionospheric heaters, all of these things, long distance waves, undetectable sound waves and whatnot that are emitted through cell phones. And I mean, there's the weaponry that these people have at their disposal now that people just still are not informed about that exists. It's not science fiction, is mind-boggling. Psychotronic weaponry, it's been there for a long time. Undetectable frequencies. The Army has researched psychotronic weaponry for decades. They've used it. These weapons that use frequencies that are not audible to the human ear that cause people to go berserk, to go frantic. I mean, we're plugged in, folks. Every one of us, even though, no matter what great lengths you may take to unplug yourself from the electronic matrix, to some degree, you're going to be plugged into it regardless. And so I was going to mention on Monday, now it doesn't matter because it's easy to say it after the fact, but literally I was going to say on Monday that I was going to predict that you're going to see the death of George Michael, and then between now and New Year's, we were going to see between 1 to 2 other big name celebrity deaths. And there was just so much other stuff and important stuff I was talking about on Monday. I didn't get a chance to say that. And damn it, not having a chance to say it, what happens? Yesterday, Carrie Fisher dies. Now, her mother, Debbie Reynolds, is in the hospital. There's no word on her condition. Apparently she had a stroke. And the same day as Carrie Fisher dies, we get the report back on how Gary Shandling died. And Gary Shandling died back around the same time that Bowie and Alan Rickman and all those did, which I detail, of course, in my Secret Messages minifilm series. So I may have to, depending on what plays out, I may have to end up making a third installment of that Secret Messages thing because I don't think this story is done. I don't think it's over with. And I don't think any of this is chance and coincidence. There is something, I can't tell you what it is yet because I don't know for sure. Something is going on that's connecting all these events together. There is a string and a thread that is connecting every one of these events together, and I don't think any of them are by chance or by accident. They're being played out in a very interesting way. Hey, I can connect. That's one of the things we're going to be doing in the Spellcasters Volume 2 is connecting. So this is right on time for me because I'm really uncovering, again, as I've talked about, suspicious deaths and famous deaths of celebrities that we're told, or suicides or heart attacks or whatever else, and finding threads of not only connection back to these things not being what we've told, but in so many cases, finding strange connections back to Scientology. I mean, it's insane. I'll give you one example. Elvis is a good example. Elvis is a good, I mean, you know, his woman, Priscilla, was in Scientology even back then when he was alive. And I don't remember the quote, but something about, there's a famous quote from Elvis where he said, you know, basically was like, fuck those motherfuckers. Something about some bitch and something. It was a word he said in there. Fuck those son of bitches. All they want is money. Blah, 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 blah. You know, and this is just a couple years before he dies. And we know he had been working with Nixon, with the CIA, and working on what was put out as the front of fighting against drugs. Some anti-drug thing really was him putting him on the payroll for the distribution of what began and what continued in the 80s with the distribution of cocaine that the CIA was shipping up from South America, and then using famous musicians like Elvis and Waylon Jennings and others, supposedly, to distribute within the music industry and through various different cities. Because I mean, it's a built-in distribution network. You look at these bands, they started in one city. Back, I know this because back in those days, back in the 70s, 80s, all the major tours in the United States always either began or ended right here in Dallas, Texas. And the reason that is because the main company that is credited with inventing Stadium Rock itself, because they owned all of the sound systems, the lighting systems. They had the first laser lighting rigs, Showco sound. Everybody used them, and they were based right here in Dallas. And a lot of the innovations in the music industry, the lighting innovations, PA innovations, and all that stuff happened right here. So a lot of the tours would begin and end right in Dallas. So that's what they were doing. Elvis was a part of that. Some other famous musicians and stuff have been a part of that. I'll be connecting that also with the cocaine trafficking and whatnot to CMP-related organizations, as well as the death of Randy Rhoads, and then back to Black Sabbath, their management, all that stuff in the new film, Spellcasters Volume 2. If we get it funded, you know, we've got to get the funding in for this thing, because it really is my most important work yet. But so I was, it's just mind-blowing when you look at all of these supposed deaths connected back to, you know, where you find these things and you see connections back to Scientology. And, you know, I remember this and I had to go look it up, but I remember Carrie Fisher was one of the first people who ever, I think this was, I don't know if this was before, it may have been after. I can't remember. I don't know if this was before or after we started hearing all those Travolta stories coming out about, you know, his butt pirate annex with massage dudes and, you know, getting sued by them, and of course all that stuff, which he claimed was total bullpucky. But Carrie Fisher was one of the first people that pretty much outed John Travolta as being gay. And I think a lot of people forget that. And I don't forget that. And the Scientologists sure as fuck don't forget that. And Carrie Fisher had just released her autobiography. And I read a story just a couple of weeks ago. Came across a story, something about, I guess it was, she had revealed that her and Harrison Ford had an affair, I guess, during the filming of the first Star Wars movie in 1977. And something to the effect of Harrison Ford, just his only reply to it, or she called him to let him know, you know, hey, look, you know, I know this has kind of been a secret, but I'm putting my tell-all book out and it's in there, you know, so I hope you're not mad at me about it or whatever. And Harrison Ford's reply was just like a one-word reply. He just said, one word, lawyer. But, you know, he was just fucking around or whatever. But when I read that, it made me think, wow, you know, I wonder if she tells anything about being harassed by Scientologists, or if there was any blowback for that. She was, I'm pretty sure she was the first person, even though everybody had kind of suspected for a long time, but I'm pretty sure she was the first person of any notoriety to indicate, because she made it sound like she knew it like firsthand, like she's friends with him, and she said something to the effect of, just come, basically like, South Park, just come out of the closet. But, so just come out, nobody cares, whatever, something like that. But of course, that goes back to that whole bullshit Scientology code, the whole thing of nobody in Scientology. It goes back to the original days. And, L. Ron Hubbard, he was such a hypocrite. He didn't even follow his own rules that he set down. You're supposed to no drugs at all, no at all. And he was the biggest fucking drug addict on the face of the planet. Even his own son said it would be easier to talk about the drugs he didn't take, because if you tried to list all the ones he did take, it would take forever. So there's very few he did, meaning there was very few he didn't take. Yet one of the main tenets of Scientology is you can't be on any drugs. And of course, we know one of L. Ron Hubbard's sons, who later died in mysterious circumstances that I talk about in the film Spellcasters, who was going to be the next in line once his other son said, I'm fucking done with this. Once he realized it was black magic, he was next in line. And then so the next son was going to come up, and then it came out that he was homosexual. And then when it comes out he's homosexual, then he mysteriously dies in a way that was clearly suicide. It was not, he was suicided. Not that he committed suicide, but they made it look like a suicide. So that's why John Travolta and Tom Cruise, if they truly are gay, are not staying in the closet because they care. Because that's the whole line everybody says, they're just afraid that they'll lose their movie status. I mean, when was the last time John Travolta was in any kind of a big, neither one of them, I mean, I guess Tom Cruise is still considered A-list and top tier, but I mean, most of the stuff he's been in for a long time has been crap. So neither one of these guys at this stage in the game have anything to lose with, with their sexuality and whatnot. The only reason that they keep in check and want to keep that hush hush has everything to do with their status in Scientology. And it's more about Scientology covering its own ass, because they know this stuff goes on. They know everything. That's part. I mean, they're their own little intelligence gathering organization. And this is why I predicted all this stuff was going to happen, even long before Going Clear came out. I said there is starting to be a campaign for where people are now allowed to bash Scientology because they're trying to out Miscavige, so the CIA can regain its total control. They've had plants and they've had people in there for a long time, but once they lost Elron and Miscavige came in by proxy. Watch the TV series. It was a Hulu series. Season 1 came out this year. The Path. Go watch that series. If you haven't seen The Path, man, it's got Jesse Pinkman from fucking Breaking Bad in it. Go watch that series. It's a fictionalized telling of that time period in Scientology when Miscavige was taken over for, or basically usurped L. Ron Hubbard for power. Even right down to how, he was dead for a long time when everybody already thought he was alive and just nobody knew where he was. And him instead of it being the levels of Scientology, it's the rungs of the ladder in the show The Path. And supposedly he's going out to, right, that they think he's out riding the next levels of the thing, but really he's dead. And the guy who's really reminds you a lot of David Miscavige too. If you've seen David Miscavige in interviews, you see him talk, this guy who's kind of he really is a lot like it. Well, he's kind of taking over power and doing whatever it takes to keep himself in power. And Jesse Pinkman is sort of Jesse Pinkman. Aaron Paul is is the actor's name, but everybody just, I think, mostly associates him with fucking Pinkman. But he's in the cult too. He's in the group too, but he's getting information and he's waking up to what's going on. So he's got to, like, on one hand, still toe the line of the cult while not letting on that he's trying to break loose and he's figuring stuff out, what's really going on and trying to uncover it. So, yeah, if you want to really see a perfect fictionalized telling of that, and again, that's a part of it too. Why would they just right now make a fictionalized telling of that story, as that is exactly playing out now with Leah Remini and all these people, and none of these people are really telling the real truth and why you should even be concerned with Scientology in the first place. None of the stuff that L. Ron Hubbard's own son discussed in interviews. Why does Leah Remini never bring that up? Well, that, of course, is answered by what I told you in previous shows about how years and years ago I read a list of known CIA assets in Hollywood, and I saw her name on it. And I was like, her? The fucking King of Queens chick? It just didn't compute at the time. I laughed at it. I was like, that's fucking hilarious. That's obviously probably bullshit. I'm not believing. Now it makes so much more sense. Because she's a part of this ongoing operation to demonize Scientology so that they can... It's a coup. That's what it is. It's a change and overthrow of the current power for the installation of a new power that they will then paint a new face on, because that's what they're going to do. Scientology has now been exposed and gotten to such a bad rap, they don't have a choice now except to play out this drama and act like they're people, the highest level people. I mean, watch these guys. They talk about what deceivers they were when they were in the Church of Scientology and the deceitful things they had to do to screw people over, Mike Render and all those guys. And then you watch them on this show and you see their faces and you're sitting there. I'm sitting there looking at these guys going, they're doing the same thing now. You can tell they're doing the same thing. Now they're just acting like it's just another act. That's what it is. So now they're acting like they're out of Scientology and they're against it, when really what they're doing is they're drawing more people out that have stories that haven't come out of the woodworks before. So then those people get marked. You see, that's what's going on here. And they're going to try to spin this and paint a good face on it later and be like, okay, Miscavige is out. They'll start having media campaigns on the new face of Scientology and, oh, it's not what it used to be, and we got the riffraff out. And there was a little mention in there in one of those episodes of that Leah Remini show. Someone in there briefly mentioned, just said it for a second, and it was 100% verification of what I talk about in the Spellcasters, and that is this idea of them wanting to unleash the Scientology stuff on the world, on everybody. And somebody said that in there, that Dave Miscavige's goal is to make the world clear. And that was 100% verification of what I talked about in the Spellcasters, what I'm putting together here and what I was trying to show you, is that's the goal. That's one I've said this for the longest time. People used to laugh at me, because I've been telling people forever that once the installation of world government happens and you have the one world system, one world monetary system, global government, and one world religion, the merging of science and religion into one religious system that the entire world follows, Scientology will be at the forefront of that. And of course, they started running Super Bowl ads a few years ago indicating that. Do you like science? Do you like religion? Do you want a little bit of both? Join Scientology. Like, what the fuck? Yeah, give us $575,000 and then we'll tell you that we worship Xenu, and basically it's just a watered down version of what was in ancient Sumerian stuff about the Anunnaki. Oh, but don't tell anybody that, because then we won't be able to rope people in and get more people interested in Scientology by roping them in through other CIA assets like Sitchin and the rest of it. What else? Anyway, my point is, we're going to see more celebrity deaths. There is some kind of ongoing, whether it's a magical ritual or whether there's something all this is leading up to, and I'll just have to continue to document it, do my best to let you know as developments happen. This is something I've been following for a few years now, and I haven't talked about it very often on the show. But it's something I've been following. I've talked about it a couple of times. But this most recent development here just absolutely seals the deal on what I've, and other people too, other researchers and whatnot, have put together. And that is on the guy, Chris Kyle, the American sniper guy. Lead sheriff in Chris Kyle murder investigation found dead inside Erath County home. That's Erath County's here in Texas. Erath County Sheriff Tommy Bryant was reportedly found dead of an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. Yeah, self-inflicted. In his home overnight, according to local officials. The death occurred about 12:05 a.m. Tuesday at Bryant's house in Stephenville, according to a Texas Ranger statement sent by Texas Department of Public Safety spokesman Lonnie Haschel. The Texas Rangers are investigating his death at the request of the Stephenville Police Department. Haschel said the statement did not include Bryant's cause of death. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? For them to make a statement that quick that it was suicide and then not include what the cause of death was. So this was the guy who was investigating the supposed murder of Chris Kyle. That's interesting because that happened over 3 years ago, almost going on 4 years ago, almost 4 years, 4 years in February. Interesting that there would still be investigations going on. If you know he was murdered, right? All indications that they gave to the press and the story, it was open and shut. So why over 4 years, almost 4 years later, was there still investigation going? Now the lead investigator just decides he doesn't want to live anymore? I'll give you the short Reader's Digest version of this because this is something I've been working on and researching since 2013. I've never done any videos or really total shows on it because honestly, I'm just wrapped up with too much other stuff and I can't cover fucking everything, folks. I know I'm expected to cover every single issue and everything there is, but I just can't do it. I'm one person. I can't cover everything. It's impossible. You think I'm not covering stuff that needs to be covered? God damn it. Get your own fucking show and start it up and get going. Everything surrounding this Chris Kyle thing was total horseshit. And it connects right back, of course, like it all does, connects right back to the same people I've been exposing, these Council for National Policy related individuals that relate to Blackwater, that relate to the CIA, that relate to the Knights of Malta. I mean, it's all there and it's all connected. And so Chris Kyle, in February of 2013, just prior to his death, had released this book entitled, that the movie was later titled by, American Sniper. And just as it came out, you had a bunch of stuff pop up with Jesse Ventura. Jesse Ventura is, of course, big buddies with Alex Jones. You guys have probably seen the video, those two fucking dum-dums paddling their fucking boat up the Dum-Dum River, fucking paddling up. Oh, God damn, it was one of those stage hilarious things. I'm telling you, I was belly rolling around on the fucking ground when I saw this when it first came out. I'm serious. I had tears, dude. I had fucking tears. I've never laughed that hard. There's fucking Jones and Ventura paddling up the fucking Dum-Dum River up the back of fucking Bohemian Grove, getting out, and Jones is like he's like squeaking like the fucking penguin because he's got Napoleon complex. He's like 5'2". He's like, oh, here it is. We're sneaking into the grove. Waddling up there. Hey guys, what's going on? That's one thing when I saw him when I first met him. That was funny. I was like, holy shit. He's like 5'2", 250. He's like fucking short, he like waddles like this when he walks. Oh, it's fucking hilarious. And of course, he comes out and says, Ventura comes out and said, this story was a lie that Chris Kyle told in his book, and he could prove it was a lie. And of course, there's a lawsuit ensues. Long and the short of it is, Chris Kyle death was faked by the very same people who do these type of operations that I've described in the killing of celebrities and other not just celebrities, but other high value targets and assets that they need to eliminate, whether it be heads of state or anybody who basically turns out to be a problem for the powers that be. These guys specialize in these kind of hits. There's a movie, Killer Elite, I think is the name of the movie. It has like De Niro and Jason Statham and stuff. And I was going to mention this in Spellcasters. There's some very real revelations in that movie where they reveal some of the techniques that they use in what, murdering people to make it look like accidents or anything else. There's some of the real techniques are kind of let out of the bag in that movie. So it's worth watching just to see some of the techniques, the stuff with the tile in the shower and, murdering somebody to make it look like an absolute, right down to changing tile, matching the tiles, staging death scenes and whatnot. It's all there. These guys are the masters of that. So, of course, Chris Kyle was a part of Craft Services. This is another one of those Blackwater-related private mercenary groups that basically are, will go out and do anything on any soil. It can work independent of governments and everything else. They can do the things governments can't do. So in February of 2013, Chris Kyle dies right as this lawsuit's coming that's going to bury him from Ventura. Then barely 2 months later, the Boston bombing happens, and all over Boston are seen men, military contractors, with what looks like the Punisher logo from the Punisher Marvel comic character, which is the logo of Craft Services, are all over that. There are even reports that Chris Kyle himself was seen at the Boston bombings. So that's essentially what they did. They helped him fake his death to avoid the lawsuit, and in exchange, he led the SEAL team from Craft Services there during the Boston bombing and attacked and killed Americans on American soil, to then, of course, blame on the enemies and further the continued tracking and surveillance grid and the body scanners and everything else. That's the long and the short of it. And now this coming out, this investigator, why would somebody investigating his death 4 years later be a threat? Well, the only reason that he would be a threat is because that investigator probably is figuring out what I just told you. The evidence probably didn't stack up that he was murdered. He probably had evidence that it was faked, and what did they do? Well, all of a sudden the guy that's investigating it decides he doesn't want to live anymore. Isn't that a shame? Isn't that convenient? Oh, man. Like I said, there's just too much stuff. I can't cover it all. But that is something I've been tracking for quite some time, and it just kind of was solidified on hearing that news about the investigator. The guy's been, still investigating his death 4 years later. And, of course, that movie, American Sniper, that was all put out as a brainwashing thing on the American people to portray him as this big American hero, so that when anybody brings up the real truth that I just talked about, it will be viewed and considered as blasphemy, lies, disinfo, anti-American rhetoric. That is how they keep the control in place. That's how they keep the mind war progressing indefinitely into the future. That's how they do it, folks. And, speaking of mind war, it's hilarious. I still have to laugh at all this Trump stuff and all these supporters, especially all these neo-Nazis and white supremacist types that have been all behind. They're just morons. You guys are fucking idiots. You guys have to represent the most moronic subsection of people that I've ever seen in my life. Number one, remember when I talked about the New Balance thing? That was fucking hilarious. White supremacists, oh no, their official shoe of white supremacy is now New Balance. When everybody has known since the dawn of time, those are called fucking, the nickname of those is Jew Balance, because fucking Jews love them. Didn't do the research on that, I guess. And now, they were all behind Trump because they all think he's, anti-Jew and this. do you guys realize, do you realize how many people, it's like a Zionist cabinet that this guy's bringing. You know how many Zionist related individuals are in the Trump candidacy, and then now the stuff that he's saying about Israel and I mean, my God, wake up, people. All these people screaming Jew, 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 this, that, and the other, and go Trump, but we hate Jews. Meanwhile, the Jew supporter number one is Donald Trump, and you guys are not, I guess, are either too stupid to realize it and realize that he has, you know, if you're truly anti-Zionism and you truly want to fight this stuff, you should have a problem with Trump's cabinet and the people he's appointing and his stance on Israel. So which one is it, you confused morons? Pick one. We don't support satanic Jews. Trump's neo-Nazi fans freak after he posts a happy Hanukkah tweet. Y'all just figured that out, huh? Took y'all to Hanukkah to figure out. That's what I'm saying. Fucking morons. People don't do their homework. They don't do their research. They just get sucked into this phony racial identity horseshit, and, you know, be damned if there's flaws in it. They don't care because they're morons. Wake up. You know, if you, Jesus Christ. Bitch and call the Jews satanic all day long, and then you got Mr. Jew lover and Zionist number one bringing in the Zionist cabinet, Donald Trump, but of course, look, that gets into the whole thing with the Rothschilds, doesn't it? I mean, we know Trump's done business with the Rothschilds. Do you think Trump's gotten to the position he has and never done business at some point where the Rothschilds doesn't have connections back to those people? Bullshit. It'll all come out in the wash. Goldman Sachs, I mean, the rest of them, they're all connected back to that. And of course, that, you know, same thing with Hitler. You know, the Rothschilds were pumping money to Hitler, of course, because it's all about the, you know, the Eastern European Ashkenazi versus the traditional Sephardic Jews. And yes, the Ashkenazi Jews have for centuries and decades and will continue to want to wipe out the Sephardic end of it. And they're the ones that perpetuate all this anti-Jew stuff while at the same time supporting Israel and supporting their version of what Zionism is. You know, but meanwhile, it gets associated with people who don't really have anything to do with it. It's just, it's confusing. It's mind-bending. People can't wrap their mind around how the levels of cognitive dissonance that so many of these people who are claim to be anti-Jew and the rest of it really are Jews themselves. They can't wrap their minds around these people putting out their own propaganda, but they absolutely do, because it helps them to strengthen their cause. They believe that when they're attacked, that strengthens their cause. That's the same thing with Scientology. Scientology is the same way. They think it proves them right. Mysterious illness tied to marijuana use on the rise in states with legal weed. It says that for more than 2 years, Lance Crowder was having severe abdominal pain and vomiting, and no local doctor could figure out why. Finally, an emergency room physician in Indianapolis had an idea. The first question he asked was if I was taking hot showers to find relief. When he asked me that question, I basically fell into tears because I knew I had an answer. He had an answer. The answer was cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome, which is caused by heavy long-term use of various forms of marijuana. For unclear reasons, the nausea and vomiting are relieved by hot showers or baths. I've never heard of this. They'll often present to the emergency department 345, blah, 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 blah. Well, what's wrong with them? It doesn't say anything other than abdominal pain. He co-authored a study showing that since 2009, when medical marijuana became widely available, emergency room visits, diagnosis for CHS in 2 Colorado hospitals nearly doubled. In 2012, the state legalized recreational marijuana. Okay, so you got a bunch of rookies who can't handle their shit and who freak out and go to the hospital. That's all it is. See what, again, this is, I know what this is. This is more propaganda put out by the alcohol lobby because they can't find anything. It's just they look for anything that they can to try to keep themselves afloat because they're losing out to recreational marijuana, especially in states like Colorado and Oregon, where you've traditionally had so many. You throw a rock, there's a microbrewery every 20 feet in those states. And then they're suffering tremendous losses at the hands of recreational marijuana. And so now the alcohol lobby's trying to find anything. So they make up these fake diagnoses. Oh, we found that there's been an increase of people who are not feeling good after smoking a ounce of Maui Wowie. I mean, okay, rookies are making themselves sick, and that's all they got. That's all they got. People who've never smoked before. Of course, you're going to see an increase of this because in a state where it's legal and all you have to do is be 21 and show an ID to get it, you're going to have a large number of people who've only never tried it because they've never had access to it before. Don't know where to get it, never knew anybody that smoked, didn't know where to go find any. So because you're having a lot more increase of people that never smoked, and because they don't sell, the fucking Steeds and Simp, the Mexican butthole variety at the dispensary, they sell the medical grade stuff. You're not getting the fucking Mexican harvest. We call it Mexican butthole weed down here in Texas. Because that's that brown, compacted brick shit that was smuggled across the fucking border in some Mexican's asshole. Literally. So that's what we call it, Mexican. We call it Mexican butthole. That's what it's called. Yeah, it's Mexican butthole. Ugh. Oh, shit's nasty. I remember smoking some of that shit when I was fucking late teens, early 20s. Ugh, gross. And you didn't know any better, so you just throw it all in there, seeds and stuff, pack it in there. It'd be fucking lighting that shit. Seeds would be popping out like popcorn. You're smoking and going, yeah, man, this is awesome. You're like fucking 17. You don't know any better. So, yeah, they're not selling the Mexican butthole weed at the fucking dispensaries. They're selling the medical grade shit. So these rookies are going in and fucking getting blazed out of their brains, and then they go to the hospital, and then the fucking alcohol lobby's like, ooh, we'll call it PMG, persistent medical marijuana disease or something. Then we'll get our controlled assets in the media to plant these stories on it. I mean, and the pharmaceutical companies as well. I mean, it really is. It's hurting that because people are figuring out that they don't need these opioid-based pain relievers anymore when they use stuff like CBD, which now they're trying to criminalize or have criminalized Schedule I drugs. Stuff that doesn't even have THC in it at all, and they made it Schedule I. I mean, it's retarded. It really is, and it's all about the fact that the medical industrial complex and the banking industrial complex are in cahoots together. It's exactly why they won't let these medical marijuana dispensaries put their monies in the banks, and it's a total threat to their bottom line. So I hope that all of you that voted for Trump enjoy your continued police state, your continued war state, and your continued lockdown and complete subservience to the medical industrial complex and those pills. I don't take pills. I don't take pills of any kind, and I never will. I'll die before I get on any of their pharmaceutical grade bullshit. I don't take anything. I occasionally take ibuprofen when I have a headache. That's it. Caffeine, nicotine, I'm all about it. 24 earthquakes hit near Lake Tahoe within 4 hours, and are felt in San Francisco and Las Vegas, adding nearly 700 tremors felt in California the last week. There may be the big one coming up. Maybe that's what all these celebrity deaths have been all this time. Maybe all this has been leading up as an indicator to, the massive California earthquake that'll kill tons of famous people. If that hits, maybe that's what it is. Something's going on, and these events are leading up to some, I believe, much larger event. And at some point, we'll be able to look back across the years, across the precipice of this, and see how they all connect. Right now, we're just trying to connect it as it happens, Back to what I talked about earlier with the Buzz Aldrin stuff, and again, something going on there connecting to all this. And this supposed tweet that he made about some threat, about there being some threat in Antarctica. That came about a week after there was that pyramid picture that came out there. Some people said that was fake. Now, here's another story coming out. Cold hard facts. Satellite spots massive object hidden under the frozen wastes of Antarctica. But, of course, the source on this is The Sun, of the UK, a tabloid newspaper. So, again, is this real? Is this fake? All a part of the cognitive dissonance. They want to confuse everybody and get everybody to the point where people don't know what's real and what's fake. And sometimes you'll believe something's real when it's totally fake. And sometimes you'll think something's fake and it's totally real. That's a part of the cognitive dissonance, folks, because when they keep everybody's minds in that state, it's easier for them to make people believe something whole cloth, like a 9/11 or something, boom, when it happens, because you've had this sort of build up to it in this thing. I mean, it's just all a part of the plan. But here we go. The huge and mysterious anomaly is thought to be lurking beneath the frozen wastes of an area called Wilkes-Land. It stretches a distance of 151 miles and across and has a maximum depth of about 848 meters. Some researchers believe it's the remains of a truly massive asteroid, which was more than twice the size of the Chicxulub space rock that wiped out the dinosaurs. If this explanation is true, it could mean this killer asteroid caused the Permian-Triassic extinction event, which killed 96% of Earth's sea creatures and up to 70% of the vertebrate organisms living on land. However, the wilder minds of the internet have come up with their own theories, with some conspiracy theorists claiming that it could be a massive UFO base or a portal to the mysterious underworld called the Hollow Earth. The Wilkes-Land gravity anomaly, which was first uncovered in 2006, when NASA satellites spotted gravitational changes which indicated the presence of a huge object sitting in the middle of a 300-mile wide impact crater, and you've got gravitational anomalies going on there. It's a fucking ship, dude. Just like in X-Files. Just like in X-Files. Fight the Future, the movie. That's a good conversation, especially how it weaves and ties in with my Rockwall stuff. That's interesting. If you've ever seen the film, it was the first X-Files movie they came out with, Fight the Future. And some of the scenes from it were actually filmed here in Dallas. They actually blew up a building here in Dallas. Oh, man, I so regret that. That should have been, I remember I worked this job at the time, and it was a good job, and I was trying to, it was just at that time in my life when I was trying to, do everything by the book and be a good boy and all that. But I had an opportunity. I could have gone, but I would have lost my job, and I just didn't want to lose it. So, but I could have gone when they blew up the building in Dallas. They had an open call and stuff. They're going to have people down there and do it. And interesting thing, at the beginning of the movie, you see like these cavemen. It says North Texas, I don't know how many 100,000 years ago or something like that, right? And North Texas is this area where I live in, which North Texas encompasses Dallas, Fort Worth, Rockwall, all that stuff. So now when I've gone back and watched that, it's very interesting because they fall into this cave. And there have been some underground caves and tunnels and whatnot that have been found around the Dallas area. And there have been underground passages found near Rockwall. And that's where this black oil alien thing is, and it absorbs itself into these cavemen and then it lies dormant under this ice, and then these kids in the modern day break into it, and it goes in them, and then it starts unleashing the alien outbreak. And it says North Texas modern day, but it's like desert. So obviously they didn't film that part here. But when they pull up, you can see the Dallas skyline in the background. And the distance and length that the Dallas skyline looks like is the exact distance and length that you can see the Dallas skyline from Rockwall, right where the Rockwall starts at the second bridge on I-30. That's right where the western wall of the Rockwall runs through the highway right there, and that's where I've had some of these time anomalies, missing time anomalies, and other people I know have had them right there as well. That's why the piezoelectrical energy from the wall produces these energies and currents sometimes that cause gravitational anomalies and also time anomalies. And I saw that movie when it came out in the theater in Rockwall, about a mile from where that spot is. That just blows my mind now looking back at that in retrospect. But it's clear in that movie that that's what they were trying to indicate, because they end up taking the bodies to Dallas, and then they end up blowing the building up that has the bodies and the dead alien black oil stuff in it. I mean, and then of course at the end of the movie, what is there? There's a giant UFO in Antarctica that takes off. Tons of fictionalizing of the truth in X-Files, and then boom, we see this here. Whether this is real, whether this is fake, I remember reading about that gravitational anomaly there 3 or 4 years ago. That is very real. That was reported. I remember saying at the time when it came out, made me wonder if it was a UFO, kind of like the X-Files thing. But now this is where, whether this is fake. I mean, remember what Henry Kissinger said? The only thing that the people need is an external threat, either real or promulgated. That word promulgated is what he's counting on you not knowing. Promulgated means created or fake, so either real or fake. The people only need an external threat, real or fake, to submit themselves to the New World Order. That was his exact quote. So whether this is real or whether it's fake, it serves the same thing. And I believe that what I started detailing with the Bowie stuff in the Secret Messages film series, and what I've connected now with Buzz Aldrin and with the rest of the stuff in these celebrity deaths, and whatever this is, whether this is a UFO in Antarctica, again, I think all of this stuff is connecting. And I think at some point we are going to be able to look back on it and see how it all connects. Wow. Well, I'll definitely stay on top of it. Anything breaks, I'll keep you updated. TheGlobalReality.com is my website. Don't forget, folks, this is our fundraising week. We're running out of time, and we need to reach 100% of our operating cost goal so we can get everything paid and stay afloat and kick ass and continue to keep this thing going into 2010. And we absolutely cannot do it without every single one of you. And as I've said before, that's why I say help us and support our work. Every time you contribute, and every one of you out there that contributes to what I do and helps us keep this research and this work going, it's not just mine anymore. It's yours. And this is our work. So join us and contribute today. We'll see you next time. Take care.